afternoon everyone. If you're new here, I'm Nyssa and this is our small footprint. Today I'm going to bring you along while I make sourdough granola. So one of the kids has requested some granola. I make yogurt very regularly. Just showed in one of my other videos using a Green Living Australia yogurt maker. I'll put the little card up in the top wherever it goes. I haven't done it yet, so we'll wait and we'll see where it ends up. And with that yogurt they like to have granola. I used to buy granola, try and get the lowest sugar that I could, but cost-wise it was exorbitant because with 6 kids they can just go through it too much. So now I make sourdough granola. They really like the clusters of granola, so when I used to make like a toasted muesli, it wasn't quite what they wanted. They wanted the chunks. So what I started doing was adding starter to the mix, and it is a recipe, but it is sort of by feel as well. Depends what I've got in the cupboard, pantry, fridge, etc. as well, and I adapt it as I go. So I triple fed my starter yesterday on purpose for today. It's already peaked and it's gone down again for today, which is fine. So I use that as well. So by adding the starter, the granola ends up sort of chunky and clumpy, and you just spread it out on a tray. So we'll go through that, but we'll go through what I put in mine, the sort of ratios that you can use, but you can bump it up and down as you need depending on how many oats you've got. Like I tend to want to use a whole bag of oats if I open it, and if I buy oats from Aldi it's a 750 gram pack. If I buy it from Coles or Woolworths it's a 900 gram pack, and I think the one that I've got here is a Costco one, which is like a 1.2 kilo pack. So I generally just use the whole packet and adjust quantities as required. It does have some sugar in it. I haven't worked out the ratio of what it actually works out as, but it's minimal, and I use homemade low sugar fruit syrups or jams to sweeten the yogurt, so there's not much sugar in the yogurt either, so I'm okay with there being a bit of sugar in the granola, but it's entirely up to you. If you drop the sugar, it's just a bit more savoury, and if that's how you like it, then that's great. I normally do put sesame seeds in because I really like the taste of the toasted sesame seeds, but I must have used them all when I made hummus last, so I don't have any of them today, and grocery week is next week. I'm also scrounging the bottom of a few things because the monthly grocery shop is due next week, so we'll make do with what we've got and see how we go. So come and see how I do it. Okay, so I've got my giant bowl and I've got a range of things spread out here. Now I vacuum pack and freeze my nuts, generally speaking, because the weather here if I buy them in bulk, there's just too much chance of them going rancid, so I normally only have smaller amounts out at a time. When I vacuum seal them, I normally vacuum seal mixed packs for the granola, but I must have used them all, so I've only got single nut packs left. So I've got cashews, almonds, and some peanuts today. That's what I've found in the freezer, so I'm going to use those. Got rolled oats, and yes, it's a 1.125 kilo bag. That one's the Costco one. I've got chia seeds and sunflower seeds there as well. Coconut, and then I got my starter flour, and we'll use some maple syrup, some cinnamon, coconut oil, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the recipes that I found pre-fermented anything that needed to with the starter. I tend to just throw everything in, mix it, and let it sit for a bit because it takes me a while to get it mixed and then to get the trays going, and the stuff at the end is more fermented than the stuff at the beginning and that sort of thing. But most of the reason I use the sourdough starter for the kids is to make it that crunchy, clumpy clumpy granola, not necessarily because it's sourdough. Granola doesn't have a whole lot of bad things in it anyway, so I don't find that their ability to digest it is hampered. The longer you leave the oats in the starter and stuff, the more they absorb liquid, and I find that the chewier they get when they bake. You have to be a bit more careful of them burning because they have more moisture in them, but it's very much a by feel recipe, so I'll let you know what I put in, but you do have to a degree, work out what you've got and what you like flavour wise to get it to work. So we'll start off by pouring the oats straight into the bowl. And then I generally add around about 200 grams of coconut. This is a little bit more, this is the larger bag of oats, so I'll probably go a little bit higher. Coconut's a fairly inexpensive way to stretch the granola, which I really like. So I of course have no measuring cups here. Give me a sec. Alright. Let's go, we'll have a look. So this is one of my cups is about 85 grams. So let's go 3 cups, which should be about 240. Yep, 240. Sit that, we can always add more if we need to afterwards. Then we'll add nuts. Now, I normally do around about 200 grams of nuts, so which is what I freeze it in portions of. So let's go 300. Let's go 100 grams of each, so 100 grams of almonds. And then we'll go 100 grams of cashews. These are just raw cashews, but they toast up when of course the fan's interfering with my scales. There we go, 100 grams of cashews. And the peanuts by far are the cheapest nut, but of course peanuts aren't nuts, they're legumes, and they don't have anywhere near the health benefits of other raw nuts, but at the same time cost becomes an issue. So I'm actually going to put 200 in these, so I'm going to put 400 all up of nuts, and then we'll have a look. These bags I got on sale at Costco for like $3 for the kilo, so definitely a nice cheap way to bulk things up. I'm going to put in some chia seeds, and I'm still yet to learn that I need to not put stuff so that I have to run my arm across the camera, but you know, we'll get there. And let's put, I normally put a total of like 100 grams of seeds all up, of all the different seeds. So let's put 40 grams of chia. I would normally put sesame seeds, hemp seeds if I've got them. I don't have either of those at the moment, so I've got some sunflower kernels though. So let's just top that up to the 100 with the sunflower seeds. Alright, now I like to put some salt. Probably about 2 teaspoons, yeah, about the 10 gram mark, and some cinnamon. I'll put about a tablespoon, about 30 grams in of that, and I'm just going to stir this all up for the moment. There you go. So it's all just mixed together, the granola there. So then what I need to do is add the wet ingredients. So what I might do is mix all the wet ingredients together in another bowl and then add them in, because that'll make it distribute better. So let's put this out of the way of the camera, and we'll grab another bowl here, and I'm going to put my starter. So here's the starter here that I never can figure out which direction. that I triple fed yesterday. A nice big jar of it. Just need a spatula. And I'm going to put, well, let's see what we've got here. I normally put about 500 grams, so which is most of the jar, so I'm just going to do 600 because we bumped up the quantities of everything. And then I'm going to refeed that. So we've got 600 grams of starter in there. We're going to put some coconut oil. So we've got some coconut oil. We're going to do about 100 grams. I might need another jar. Let's grab another jar. Alright, got another jar here. I'm just going to top this up to about the 100 gram mark. A little over, which is fine. Very warm here today, as you can see by the coconut oil. Wipe my hands. Alright. Then we're going to add some sugar, which I didn't grab the container of. Sugar. I'm going to add about a cup of sugar. And then you mix this together. Now I normally use a liquid sweetener as well. You can use maple syrup or honey. You have to remember, if you use honey, that it'll be more inclined to burn. I also have some of this date syrup, which I'm going to use today because I just checked the fridge and it looks like the kids have used most of the maple syrup for the month already. So I'm going to use this date syrup. Again, it's all to taste. I'm going to put around about 100 grams of this in to add. It just makes the flavour more complex. It gives it some sweetness as well, but makes the flavour profile of the granola a bit more complex. I'm just going to mix that in. It gives it a really nice brown caramelly colour too. Alright. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pour this over the oats. Now, you might need more liquid. So what I normally do is just add water. I pour it over the oats. I tend to use my hands to mix it because it's the easiest way to do it. And then if it's not the right consistency, I will add some water. So a lot of the recipes that I found added flour and water to the mix, like added more flour and more water, and I don't really understand adding more flour and water to your recipe when the starter is flour and water. So like, make more starter if you are going to need more of that. So what I do is I tend to just add water if it needs more moisture. So you want to bring it together. You want it to hold together if it's get the scales out from under there so they stop beeping. You want it to hold together so that you can like clump it onto the trays. And as it sits, the longer it sits, the more the oats suck up the liquid. So this is a large batch. I definitely think it's going to need a bit more moisture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water to that bowl to get the rest of the other liquid out. Alright, so I just added a cup of water to the bowl. And I'm just going to scrape everything I missed with that cup of water into the bowl. This is kind of why I don't share recipes, because living in this lifestyle and the way that I work is very much about just making things work with what you've got. And I don't always have the same things, and I don't always have the ability to get the same things. So a lot of the time it's a by the seat of your pants sort of a thing with whatever's left from the month or what is available. My next monthly shop is next week, and we're having a huge rise in cases here, and the availability of things is apparently quite low. So as you can imagine, shopping for a family of 8 monthly is already a bit of an ordeal, but when you don't know what you're going to be able to get, or they put limitations on things so that you can only buy like 2 cans of tomatoes or something, 2 cans of tomato products, and like for our family that barely makes a meal, so it makes it hard. Apparently Costco is running out of chicken every day, chicken breasts, and they have a limit of 1 minced beef packet per person, and normally I would buy 2 of them every month. So it's going to be interesting. I'll bring you along for it and see how we go. Alright, so that texture looks good. So if you squeeze it, it sticks together, but not overly so, because as it sits here for a little bit, it's going to get a bit more sticky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up while this sits and does what it needs to do, feed my starter, get some trays ready, that sort of thing, and then I'll bring you back. Alrighty, so I've tidied up. I've got 2 trays here. My oven fits a half sheet and a quarter sheet in at the same time, so that's what I film when I'm doing it. And all I do is grab the granola and let it naturally fall into chunks over the tray. I did try doing it solidly on the tray and then breaking it up, but it just doesn't cook very evenly. You want spacing, you want it in sort of separated chunks so that the heat can flow in between in the middle of the tray, otherwise the middle of the tray just doesn't end up cooked well enough. Now again, I have a gas oven, it has no fan and no thermostat, so I do everything manually. I have a Bluetooth temperature gauge that I use to try and adjust the temperature on the inside of the oven with the thermostat, but it's not particularly accurate. It is a little bit hit and miss, so I watch everything. You want to do it on a lower temperature, and you want to cook it longer at a lower temperature by preference, because then it'll cook out some of the liquid, crisp up, get nice and brown and toasty, and the nuts will toast up, but it won't burn. You do have to watch it though. I want to say that it probably takes 30 minutes at say 160 odd, but if you kicked it up higher, you'd have to watch it. You could turn it, you could move it around on the tray, but then you're going to be breaking up some of your clumps as well. So I prefer to just not touch it, and we'll just let it cook. Rotate the trays if necessary, like I might spin the trays 180 or something like that if I need to get some more evenly cooked bits. Some bits are browning more than others, but I mostly just leave it alone. So I think this will take 3 batches for me by the looks of the amount that's here. So I'll do these 2 trays twice, and then probably a single tray at the end. So I'll put these into the oven, and then I'll bring you back when I pull them out and you can see how they look. Alrighty, this was 35 minutes. I've rotated the trays once. I've been doing other stuff. I probably should have rotated it more than once. We got a little bit of burn right on the back corner, but it's not too bad. 35 minutes. I managed to keep the oven around about 160 to 170. So 30 minutes at about 160, 170 is probably around about right, rotating once or twice depending on the heat of your oven. So all I do is I let it cool on here for a bit, and then I just pick it up in clumps and place it in jars. So it comes away in little clusters like this, lightweight little clusters. So I'll get 2 more trays going. Once it's cooled, I just grab it and I break the larger chunks up straight into the jar. And the kids help themselves and have it with yogurt and stuff for breakfast, or they really just like it to snack on as well. So just goes in the jar and gets eaten over the next week or so. So that's it, that's our sourdough granola. Let's see if I can get it to focus on the jar, there we go. Big old jar of it, and they just use it by the handful, snack on it, or with yogurt for breakfast. I don't really put too many limits on it. There's not a whole lot of sugar in it, and it's got a lot of good things in it for them, so it's much more preferable to standard cereal. So I hope that's given you something else to make with your starter, and a way to do the cluster crunchy pieces of granola that I had a hard time finding a recipe that would work for that. If you enjoyed that, then please come back and watch some more. Let me know any information or any feedback in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.